Hey, this is Rick again with another update for my SSL project. As you can see, I have my website open again, and instead of mike at AOL.com, I'm going to type in rick.yoder at xbit.technology, and I'm going to change the password to abc123 and hit submit, so I can still log in, and I have my email or username, my handle, set to rick.yoder at xbit.technology. And for my profile, I have an actual biography here. And that, as a matter of fact, if I open up a duplicate tab, if I go to PHP my admin, and type in root, you can see in the users table when I inserted my own record, I did the SHA-1 for the password, and then I actually set a biography field, and that field is being output on the profile page. But anyways, that is the updated login/logout. Obviously, if you hit logout, it removes that session, and if we try going back to the profile page, it says please log in to continue. And we're going to try submitting a bogus email and a bogus password. And then it says incorrect login info, so it'll only work if it's rick.yoder at xbit.technology and the password is abc123, which I am actually not going to put in, and just try hitting submit. So even though we had the right email, we didn't have the right password because we're comparing the SHA-1s between the password we input versus the password in the database, and since they did not match, we get the incorrect login info pop up there. Anyways, let's go to the About class. Was it the About class? Show list. So obviously I didn't implement this page into the navigation bar, but I do have it up and running. We have the fruit ID, we have the fruit name, and we can add a new fruit from this top form right here. So I'm just going to put in, let's do grape. And we click on add fruit, and there we have grape. Now I did something a little different. So on the right here, I have the controller for this entire page. So instead of using Ajax or anything fancy, I just decided to make two forms. So if I go to the view, there's one form that has no inputs actually nested inside of it, and then there's another form for adding a fruit. I'm going to talk about the edit form first. The edit form I have embedded in these table rows. Essentially how I did that was I used the HTML5 compliant form attribute so that this input is linked to the edit form as well as this one and this one. So these two buttons and this input field and this input field, which by the way I set to read only because obviously you can't change the auto increment. I basically linked them all to that form, even though that form is actually nowhere to be seen. And the reason why I did that is so that I can actually edit these values right here and now. So if I want to change the fruit name of apple to, let's say, watermelon, I just click on the edit button then. And that is very strange because that is supposed to actually edit that. I will see about fixing that before I submit the assignment and take a look and see what that issue is. But just real quick, let me make sure that everything is getting done right. Watermelon. So that is really weird. I don't know why that is. Hmm. So, from what I understand, because I linked all of these inputs to the same form, which probably I should change, it's getting the value of the last entry and the last ID and everything like that. So even if I hit like, let's say I hit the delete for watermelon, it still comes up as grape. And if I comment that back out, if I try to hit refresh, that deleted the grape and not the actual field that we wanted. Actually, hang on a sec. That's really weird. So if we try hitting delete for the apple, yeah, it just deletes the last one of the table. So I'm probably going to have to use some JavaScript so I can identify what row I'm working inside of so that the form knows that we want to submit that data essentially. So that's just something I'm going to have to fix after this video essentially. But the good news is that adding a fruit obviously works. I can add another grape, no problem. It's just a matter of me fixing the front end so that the front end doesn't confuse my back end essentially. But anyways, we've got the show list function, which in reality we should just do this. I don't know if I need to define show list before index, but I'm just going to try doing show list. Yeah, maybe I have to try doing that. That's really strange. I don't know why that is. But anyways, I didn't really add that to the navigation bar, and I didn't really bother to use an index, mainly because we're just wrapping up this class and everything. Just needed to get something quick up and running, basically. But anyways, let's move back to the view here. Actually, let's go back to the show list here. So as you can see, I have fruit data set to the result of a SQL query, and I'm using the model of fruits, and I'm selecting everything from the fruits table, and then I'm getting my views, and I'm passing into the actual page view here. I'm passing the fruits variable as fruit data. So as you can see here, we loop through those fields essentially, and we basically just loop through all of them. We create a new table row, and then we close that table row, and then that's when we put in all of our inputs essentially. Now, there has to be something I can do with the server side to maybe, I don't necessarily want to type out all the JavaScript. I might be able to do something with the server side to fix that issue. But worst case scenario, I can just do something on the client side. But anyways, we just loop through all the fruits. We output the ID field, which is read-only. Then we output the name field, which again, I'm linking all of these values to the edit field or the edit form, excuse me. And then we pre-fill the values, obviously, with the value from our databases. Now, the reason why I set a name for the edit button and the delete button is so that I know when the user submits a form, I know exactly what type of edit they're looking for, whether they want to remove something or they want to change something. So basically, if the delete button is posted and we have an ID, then we delete that ID. But then otherwise, we probably just want to change something. So if we post the name and if we post the ID, that means we're going to change the name where the ID matches essentially. And then I just use a header to just take us back to this page essentially so you can show the updates. Besides that, that is everything I did. The only other change, I guess, would be the navbar snippet that I have. And I just changed that so that I could utilize the new login scripts, or functionality, I should say. So we check for session is logged in, or logged in, see if that exists. But then we check for session for the user ID. So when someone logs in now, basically, you actually assign the session user ID to the ID that corresponds to that user in the table. So that's how we can, and that's also how we use, that's also how we use like the profile page in the sense that we can grab that data because we get the session for the user ID and then we select everything where the ID in the table matches that session ID essentially. And that's how we output this right here. The hello, this is my biography. But besides that, those were pretty much all the changes I made. Obviously, I could open my login.php, or excuse me, the auth.php. And you can see I'm getting the model users and then selecting star from users where the email is the email and the password is the password. And then we're, I guess, cleaning or sanitizing that input. And we're passing the email and password inputs based on the email and password that were submitted. And obviously we're doing SHA-1 so we can try to match things basically. And if everything's a match, we set the sessions logged into 1, user ID to the first result that was found from the select statement to the ID of that first result. Now obviously there's only ever going to be one result, so I could just convert that array into a single associative array basically, so we could just eliminate that and we could just have data ID, but that's a bit more work than what I actually care to do basically. All in all though, this is actually shaping up really nicely. Just need to make those changes to either the front or back end, try to figure out how I can fix these inline forms essentially. And once I can do that, I will submit this assignment, and then I will proceed to produce number 8, which would be implementing a third-party API into this demo site. Again, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.